coming up the aisle, and Vince is like, wait, stop. Shouldn't he be my best man? And David's like, yeah, we really just, let's just get the shoot going. I just think it's a really good idea that he's my best man. And David Dobkin just let Vince do whatever he wanted. He just rolled over the director whenever he wanted. And Vince is like, well, wardrobe, what would that take? And wardrobe's like, we got to change him into a different tuxedo to match, because he was in kind of an old fashioned one with a striped, not a tie, but anyway. And the ones up front were all matching, and they were different. And they said, well, it's going to take about 45 minutes. And Vince is like, yeah, we can do that.
Welcome to episode number 18. I'm Benjamin Vomastic, and today we are joined by Marcus Dreeke. Marcus worked on a few comedies I really enjoy, including Spanglish, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and also my all-time favorite, Wedding Crashers. He also has experience as a director and an actor in the industry. How are we doing today, Marcus?
Oh, Benjamin, I'm great. Thank you so much for inviting me to come talk to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, I haven't had many opportunities to talk shop lately. So
yeah,
I've been in Korea. We have a small film community, English-speaking film community here. Unfortunately, I moved away from Seoul, so I haven't been able to attend that. But, so this is nice to be able to talk some old movie stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, just a funny side note. So it's 8 o'clock p.m. here on a Saturday when we're recording, but for Marcus, it's 10 a.m. on Sunday.
Yeah, we found a time that worked for us. That's good.
Yeah. So yeah, just jumping into things, what got you into the entertainment industry?
I guess I've always been, I'm a middle child, so you kind of have to perform for attention. So, just growing up through school, I was always in the plays and the choirs and any kind of thing like that. And it's kind of something I always knew I'd be doing. So, yeah, I started wanting to make movies probably middle school, the idea of writing a script and having it sent off to Hollywood, that fantasy. So yeah, it's just kind of always been there, and just waiting for the opportunity to come. I lived in El Paso, Texas, which is, does not have a huge filmmaking community. But again, if you love it, you find your community, you find your friends, and you can do things. And we did. And then I finally got the opportunity to go to LA, and that's a whole story. If you got a minute, I can share it.
Oh yeah, no, I'd love to.
All right.
Yeah.
So let me just tell you my whole story then. It actually started in Ohio. I worked at a movie theater because I love movies, obviously. And I don't know how I heard about it, but there was a film that was an indie film that was filming there. It was called Better Way to Die. Scott Weiper is the director. And I applied to help out, and they're like, sure, come be a PA, production assistant. And got on set. It turned out it was Natasha Hestridge and Lou Diamond Phillips and Mr. Bauer. I don't know his first name, Andre Bauer, from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the captain. Anyway, I wasn't around any of those people, but I got to help build some of the sets ahead of time, and just kind of get the feel of what they're doing. And then, the first day on set was kind of eye-opening for me, because it was that moment where they're, everything is chaos and people are doing their jobs, and they tell me, here, okay, get behind this car and with this piece of cardboard and fan the smoke. And, and just that right then was my movie magic moment, that realization that oh, that's a lot of fake stuff going on, and there's people doing things and making things happen. So I got to be that guy hidden behind a car in a movie. So that was good.
And how old were you when this happened?
Well, that one was probably 29, 28, okay. 29. So not too early. Hadn't done much before that, other than, messing around with your camcorder and stuff
Mm-hmm.
back in the day.
Yeah.
We didn't have cameras on every
Oh yeah.
device we owned, so it was
Yeah.
a little bit more intentional. You had to go and purpose to do it. So, but yeah, so that was the first experience, and that kind of went away. They were supposed to come back for a second film, whatever. We waited, didn't happen. I
Mm-hmm.
ended up moving away from there and going to El Paso, Texas,
Mm-hmm.
where I grew up actually, where my mother and family are. And heard again, there was another film coming through, a little film called Day After Tomorrow. And I said, oh, I'll apply. What not? So
Yeah.
turns out these big films that come to small locations, they like to hire local people as
Mm-hmm.
production assistants. You know
Yeah.
how to get around, you know what to do. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they hired me on, and so I started working on Day After Tomorrow. A lot of the scenes, all the scenes shot where they're crossing the border.
Mm-hmm.
They say, in a case of reverse migration, everyone's fleeing from the north to the south. So everybody's running the opposite direction across the border. They really shot that on the border.
Oh wow.
It was right. My university is right there on the border, the Rio Grande, where people could
Yeah.
cross. So yeah, they set up cameras on both sides, and they had a whole bunch of security to make sure nobody's taking advantage and crossing illegally. And
Yeah.
yeah, we I'm up there with the director and watching them do the fake snow, ash and can,
Yeah.
all the movie magic. Go,
Yeah.
someone get us chairs. That's me. Go get chairs. And so yeah, I had a great time doing that. I actually um, had my first director job. I think I directed Day After Tomorrow because we went out in the desert, and there was it's a place I wish I could remember. They shot a war film out there, Meg Ryan war film. I think it was just before Saving Private Ryan. Saving Private Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so Courage Under Fire, I think. Anyway, they had a bunch of the leftover. They have tanks out there, but they're just plywood cut out as tanks, and they're
Yeah.
out there in the desert for some of the distant shots. Anyway, so we in Day After Tomorrow they have this big refugee scene
Mm-hmm.
where they have this huge camp out in the middle of the desert, and of course it's snowing in the middle of the desert. But we didn't see any snow. They did all that in post production, so
Mm-hmm.
they just
Oh
covered
wow.
everything.
Okay.
But they had. If you owned an RV in El Paso, then you got hired, and they put the RVs out, a whole bunch of RVs out there, and
Uh-huh.
they put all these big tents.
Yeah.
A lot of the tents they did, they're all military, and of course, all my friends are all the extras and everything. So they had tents that they had were inflatable. They were like not real tents; they were just kind of inflatable tent, looked like little army
Mm-hmm.
tents, Vietnam era type things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they had this helicopter landing pad, and they have a scene where someone important flies in, lands, and gets off and goes and talks to somebody in a tent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the first time they tried to do it, they tried it with a Chinook. Have you ever heard of a Chinook?
Mm-mm. No, not
It's that
familiar.
helicopter that has two propellers. It's a really
Okay.
big helicopter. It's for
Yeah.
cargo. So they they tried to land that there, and it just blew all the tents over. It was just way too powerful.
Oh
Um,
wow.
so they had to cut back. They used a regular helicopter and they landed, and that was fine. So if you watch that, you could imagine that. But my first directing gig, back to the important part of the
Yeah.
story. So I'm a PA. I'm working with the second AD,
Uh-huh.
Paul or Peter. I'm sorry, and they get me down. I'm near the helicopter landing pad,
Mhm.
and they tell me, okay, these 8 soldiers, uh, give them some work, make them busy during the
Oh
set,
wow.
during the thing.
Yeah.
So basically, I got to direct them and tell them, okay, you guys pick up these
Yeah.
boxes and go here. And then when they're rolling, I duck behind the wheel of the
Yeah.
truck, and the soldiers would get, and they do their thing, and then, all right, now this time let's change. I would change them up. So that was
That's
technically
so
my first
cool. That'd be such an
professional
amazing
directing.
experience.
It was, yeah. So
Yeah.
you're gonna see if you watch the film, the soldiers near the landing pad.
Yeah.
That was me. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'll be on the lookout for that. Yeah. It's really cool.
So I worked purely PA on that one, but there's always an opportunity to sneak yourself into the film.
Mhm.
There's a crowd scene where they're breaking into the embassy, and a
Mhm.
helicopter flies over really close, too close actually. Um, Yeah, I'm one of the crowd guys for that one. So,
Nice.
you can find. I didn't have the beard then, so. But yeah, so that was a great experience. So that was in El Paso. I'm still an El Paso guy. I'm still an independent filmmaker. So, but we started now making more films ourselves, me and my friends. Um, Actually, was it after that or before? You familiar with Project Greenlight?
It sounds
Project
familiar,
Greenlight
but off
was
the
a
top of my head, it's not ringing a bell.
yeah, it was a contest set up by Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, screenwriting contest.
Okay.
Basically, everybody submits a film and they review them, and
Uh-huh.
whoever wins gets to make their film.
Yeah.
So first season, I submitted a short film, uh, a short script. I'm sorry, was it a film or
Mhm.
script? No, no. Oh no, it was a film. It was a short film, uh, and it was just this little shootout comedy thing that I did in a garage of where I worked,
Mhm.
and I got to the second round, which was amazing to me. That
Oh
I
yeah.
could do that.
Yeah.
And
Very cool.
they called me up. It wasn't Matt or Ben,
Right.
but they called me and they say, hey, you got the second round. Here's instructions what to do next. I had to shoot a little kind of a documentary myself, and I really blew it on that. I admit it. I waited too long. I didn't have
Mhm.
any help. I kind of tried to do it myself, and it ended up looking like a Survivor application video, instead of a nice
Yeah.
documentary that would show my style. So obviously I didn't go on to round two. So later they discovered in that same show, the later seasons, they realized writers don't make the best directors. So
Hmm.
they changed it to where there was a writing contest and a directing contest
Okay.
separate.
Yeah.
Because their first one, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're a writer,
Yeah, I am.
but okay, so when you write something, you know what is funny, you know what is good about it, so
Yeah.
you're going to make sure that makes it, whether it's funny or good or not.
Mhm.
You have it's your baby, right? And that's hard
Yeah.
hard to separate. So I have written a lot since then, but that was kind of the spark. That's like, hey, maybe I am good at this. Maybe there is a shot. So I finally did get to go to L.A. Moved
Mhm.
to L.A. Leap Day 2004.
Okay.
Is a nice easy day to remember. Well, it's because I got to actually sit on the red carpet of the Oscars. I know. I
Nice.
do everything.
Hell
No,
yeah.
so I just applied. Uh, just saw it online. You can be a bleacher creature. I don't think that's what they called it, but that's what they call those people. There's a bunch of
Yeah.
civilians off to the side,
Yeah.
non-entertainment guys, and the bleacher creatures. It was a horrible experience. I mean, it
Oh
was
really?
wonderful and horrible all at the same time because yeah, it was great being there, but you do see more of the movie magic. You see all these when you're watching the Oscars and they're doing the red carpet and you see all these flashes, oh wow,
Right.
it
Yeah.
must be so much paparazzi. No, they set up lights that just flash
Oh
that,
no.
that give you the impression that there's a bunch of photographers. I mean, there are a bunch of photographers, but it's
Yeah.
not
No.
it's not
That's
what they
funny. I never knew
present.
that.
Yeah. So, and then there's just the people that you're there with. It's supposed to be some sort of lottery, but somehow some people get grandfathered in, and they had shirts that literally said "Bleacher Creatures" on it, and they were so annoying. Just yelling at the celebrities.
Oh God. Yeah.
Mike, 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 Mike. Until he turned around and looked at him. Oh my goodness. Just trying to enjoy. I did eat a cookie from Wolfgang Puck. He gave out
Oh
cookies,
nice.
so shaped like little Oscars. So that was
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. That's cool.
So experience for sure, but
Oh yeah.
I still want to get on the inside.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm there finally in LA. I'm a tech guy actually. I'm a computer scientist,
Mhm.
and so I had a partner, my ex employer. We became business partners, and so back in that time, it's 2004.
Mhm.
They just started coming up with these sites that you could, as an actor, find productions. I always thought of them like dating sites, Hey, I'm a
Mhm.
production. I have need for this, and then you'd
Yeah.
apply for the job, whatever.
Right.
So it was
Yeah.
just
It's like
so they're common
backstage.
now, of
Yeah.
course, but they were called now. What were they called? L.A. Casting was one. I'm sure they're
Yeah.
still
That's
around.
still
But
one.
anyway,
Yeah.
so I was going to be a competitor of that. I
Uh.
started my own software that would do that. And one of the things that I wanted, so YouTube had just started
Right.
as well. It wasn't around that long, but it was just starting to gain popularity. So the idea of, okay, I can put video online, that's a thing now. So I said, well, why not, instead of just a couple photos on your resume, you do a little video, a little, hi, my name's Marcus. I'd love to be in your
Right.
film, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. Right. A slate, we called it.
Yeah.
And so I had rented a little space in Hollywood. I mean, I literally could see the Kodak Theater from my office. And I lived right next door to that, so everything was a 10-minute walk. Right in the middle of that Hollywood thing on Highland Street, right near the touristy stuff. I lived there forever, like 9-10 years, and so I created this website, and part of it was that video. So what I did is I built a little sound booth, probably 6 by 10. I mean, it's like a half of a room. It was, and it had, and I put egg crate foam all around. It looked soundproof. It really wasn't, but it was so hot because I had these 2,000-watt cans blasting light in there. So I finally had to install an air conditioner in there. So you had to like turn it off and on when you're recording. But anyway, it was a place that the actors could come and do their slate. Well,
Right. Yeah.
I couldn't give it away. I mean, nobody wanted to be part of it because I didn't have any productions advertising
Yeah.
for jobs. So why would actors join my site? And why would anybody advertise for the jobs if I didn't have any actors on my site? You have to really invest a lot of money in one of the two, and then the other one will come. Yeah. But I wasn't that business savvy, and I was more into the tech. But one person, so then I started, needed money, some sort of income. So I started renting office space. It was a small space, but we just set up some little cubicle walls, and I said, hey, rent this cubicle. And, if you've never been in LA, it's 2 million people hustling to be in the industry. So, there's people like you and me. I'm going to do anything. And someone's like, I can have a cheap office. That sounds pretty good. So this casting director came and rented a cubicle from me. Sherry Henderson, she still does Dream Big Casting. And she started there, and she's like, I'm going to use your little booth there for casting stuff. Like, okay. And all right, someone came in, auditioned for her, and said, hey, can I cast here? I was like, oh, okay, sure. If we're here anyway, go ahead. So they had their casting. So back in this time, if you were an independent filmmaker, you did, and I'm sure, what city are you in?
I'm in Michigan, so I'm in Ann Arbor.
Okay, Ann Arbor, Michigan. So I'm sure there, you don't actually have casting studios you can go rent to hold your audition.
No.
So, and it was the same in LA for the indie filmmakers. You met people, as I was trying to act at the time as well as build this business, as everyone in LA is. And so I would get these auditions where either I had to travel really far to go to a school somewhere, in Orange County or something, or I had to meet at Starbucks to talk to somebody, or I had to go to their apartment to talk to somebody. It was just kind of creepy, I mean, no fault of their own because they didn't have much choice, but it was, I couldn't imagine being a single woman doing these things, and just the fear of being taken advantage of, which never happens in Hollywood. So,
right.
So anyway, he loved the casting in my little studio. So I Craigslist was a thing back then. I think it still is.
Yep.
And I put on Craigslist, hey, come use my studio. Why not? I thought, get some actors in there. They'll see my website and whatever. Nah, no response. Nobody wanted to cast there. So then I said, $10 an hour. I'll just put $10 an hour. Everybody started calling. You put a price on it, now suddenly it has some value. And so just off to the races. Nonstop business. Website still not doing well, but we're casting. We're doing stuff. So the neighbor office opened up, talked to the landlord, rented that cheap. We opened our second and third studios, fourth studios. So we ended up doing what we called it space station casting, because we rent space. So space station casting. If you were in LA between 2005 2013, space station casting. Well, actually, my partners took it over after I left. And it was just the indie casting place to be. We had rooms that were $10 an hour to $25 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
You'd come, you could go 2 hours or all day. It's 2 hour minimum. You get there, and we had thousands of actors coming every month through our space. Just these indie films, student films, no, commercials stuff, nothing pro. Nobody stopped doing their big castings in the real studios to come to our little thing. But we did end up, a competitor came out, Cast, which is CAZT, was another service that started. I believe they're still around as well. So this was, about 2006, 2007, somewhere around there when all this started. So I'd like to think that I helped revolutionize the casting industry in LA just a little for some of the indie people, because it really just gave a place to cast. But as you know, 2020 hits and COVID comes around, and things like this happened. Now we can do online talking, and nobody goes to castings anymore. They're all video, shoot video, submit video, personal interview. So my studio would not be. My partners eventually did have to sell because of COVID. Dan Velez, who has passed away since, and Sherry Henderson, my two casting directors, just shout out to them. Love them both. And she's still working in LA and making a name for herself, trying to hustle as she always has. So
right on.
She does well. But yeah, so COVID happened and that changed all of that. So all that's happening while I'm living my Hollywood dream, which is acting and directing and all this stuff. So this turned out to be a fantastic place to meet people because they're coming to me, and I'm the owner of the space. So they're talking to me. So I had very many opportunities a lot of people don't have, I still did student films when they came, acting roles.
Yeah.
I did do one, I don't think I would call it sleazy thing, but one thing that did not get received very well, in which I did put out there, I said, hey, and I kind of did it publicly. I said, hey, if you want to hire me to be in your film, you can have the space for free. And people did not like that at all. Why am I going to hire this guy for... Anyway, so that was a mistake, but I own it.
You live, you learn. Yeah.
I was trying to, leverage my resources to try to get in the film industry, and it didn't work. But I had a lot of legit opportunities, and so I ended up writing a lot, and we filmed a lot, and I did background for a while. That was we had a theory, we had a real good core group of people that we worked with, producers and casting directors, that were all hustling on our own side things. We did occasionally come together for our own projects, but it was mostly just, and I encourage everybody who's into film to find your community, because that's the key to not only success, but just happiness in the industry. Because you're going to do it alone, you're going to go crazy, especially in a big market like LA. And it is cutthroat. Your friends, if you have a friend that looks like you, and a production comes up, you may not tell your friend about this audition, because what if they get the job and you don't? So things like that happen all the time. So it's a cutthroat. But if you have a good group of friends, that's why I encourage diverse. Don't just be all actors, because then you're going to kind of compete. But some producers, directors, camera operators, all those people, then you can all help each other. We're getting off the story of Wedding Crashers. So I did forget one part. So shortly after I arrived, and I went to LA, and I went to the Oscars. So now I'm like, now what? Now I gotta try to be an actor. I don't know how to do this. So I call up Pete, which is the second I worked for on Day After Tomorrow, and he goes, "Oh yeah, good. I need you tomorrow. Come, I'm working on the film." Wow, okay. This was serendipitous. I worked well enough, I guess, that he called me. He was happy to have me back in. So I went in, Wedding Crashers. That's what he's working on.
Oh, okay.
So I was doing a little background before then. Here's a pro tip for anyone in LA who wants to do background. Or for males, I don't know about females. Buy a tuxedo. You should just buy a cheap tuxedo and have that as part of your wardrobe, because they are all online casting service for background now too, and they can search by these things. Tuxedo got me so many background gigs.
Okay.
It was, anytime there's a wedding, they need wedding guests. They hire me. I was in Hallmark movies, Wedding Days with John Larroquette. I was Triple X2 with Ice Cube. I was one of the diplomats in one of their parties. So yeah, get a tuxedo. Anyway, so I had a tuxedo, and Wedding Crashers. I think there's a wedding scene in that movie. Oh yeah, it's one big wedding scene. So anyway, I had already been background on that film when I called him, and so now I'm working on it as a PA.
Yeah, you were a background in it as well, though.
I was, yeah. So nice. and I did both. I would switch as I would work. So usually, when you're working in the industry, you don't. I mean, you can work one job beginning to end, but a lot of times they surge. Like, oh, we need 6 extra people for this scene, so let's call them in.
Yeah,
and then so a lot of jobs, you are on call, you're there for a few days, and then you go away. Sometimes if you get lucky, you can work a whole film. So when I came in, it was already kind of late in the process.
Okay.
But we did start shooting the wedding montages.
Yes.
In the opening sequence.
Yes. Classic,
that was where I started. So anyway, I get to work that.
Extra or when you
as PA.
PAing? Yeah.
So as a PA. And so, as an extra, I'm in the wedding scenes, not the montages, but in the end, when Vince Vaughn's getting married, there is a scene.
Oh, really?
You can see me. I'm in the middle of the crowd, right when Owen Wilson busts open the doors.
Yes.
Everybody turns around and stands up.
Yeah.
You can see me there. So
that's awesome.
I really wish I could turn back time and know, because the director said, when I say go, or when you hear the bang, turn around and stand up.
Yeah.
Okay. Look at who's ever disrupting the wedding, because it's Owen Wilson opening. So, bang. I turn around, stand up, and then everybody stands up after me. And I'm like, I was the first guy to stand up in the, so it's a little bit easier to see me in the film. And I swear I got the instructions right, and everybody else was wrong. But obviously, if I'm the only guy, I'm probably the guy who was wrong in there. Yeah. But anyway, that's one way you can see me. I also got another part, being a videographer in Vince Vaughn's wedding, when Owen Wilson finally comes up to the front, and they're talking to each other. Hey, dude, what are we doing? They're close.
Yeah.
I am behind Vince Vaughn's head, really blurry. And unfortunately, you can't, there's somebody there.
Yeah.
You can't make him out. But I was holding a Canon XL1. You familiar with the Canon XL1? It was 28 days later, was shot on an XL1. This was a camera that sparked the whole digital film industry, especially for indies anyway. I had one of those right before I went to LA. I got one in El Paso, and I don't know how to say it nicely. I was the guy. Anyway, in my community, I was the guy. I had the camera. So
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And when I got to LA, I was like, oh, he's got a camera. That's pretty good. So I was useful.
You had the camera.
It's good to have resources. Yeah, and the tuxedo. And a casting studio. I mean, I don't know why I didn't do better than I did. But anyway, so in the movie Wedding Crashers, I'm holding an XL1. And they're like, do you know how to use one of these? I'm like, yeah, I got it. I knew how to do that. It had a nicer lens than mine, but that was one of the big things about the XL1's an interchangeable lens. So I did that. Those are the two main parts that you could see me in Wedding Crashers. So you want more Wedding Crasher stories, I'm sure. So
yeah, absolutely.
I know that's why you're here. Okay, so Oh, that's why I'm here. So the beginning, I guess go chronological when it happened. So I'm on set and there's lots of extras and whatever, and I go to the bathroom and I'm coming back and I'm following three bridesmaids dressed in pink dresses.
Mm-hmm.
They're there, and Owen Wilson's coming this way towards us. So we're all going one way. He's coming the other way, and he passes the bridesmaids, and he looks at him, and he looks at me, and he's like, "Huh? Eh?" That, and then Owen Wilson goes away. That was my only interaction with Owen Wilson. Unfortunately, we didn't become buddies, but he's like, "Eh?"
Yeah, right up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So some movie sets, you don't get to interact with the stars depending on your status, your job. That one I did not get much time interacting. I wasn't there full time either. I wasn't beginning to end. I kind of came in. I probably did 10 days.
Okay.
On set as PA.
I've shot an entire feature in 10 days.
Yeah, right. So yeah, they don't shoot as fast in Hollywood. So I did hear some bad thing. I don't know, bad is the right word. Owen Wilson shenanigans. A couple days before, he was in his Jeep doing donuts somewhere, and people were all abuzz about that bad thing he did. So I don't know. So they did have fun on set. I would say Vince Vaughn and Mr. Owen Wilson did have fun on set.
Yeah, I can imagine. So you got to see a lot of the acting in real time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So continue on to wedding scenes. They're doing all of them. So just a funny little thing. Vince Vaughn is huge. He's like he's a tall guy.
Yeah,
that poster you have behind, he's crouching down to equal his height. He's probably still digitally made smaller because he is just a tall guy. And so, who's his love interest in that? That's not Rachel?
Isla
it's
Fisher.
the redhead.
How do you pronounce her name? Isla Fisher.
I think it's Isla. Yeah, I'm not 100%. I didn't get to talk with her much either. Huh. So there's a scene where they're dancing face to face and they're chatting and whatever. She's in heels this tall.
Yeah.
She still only comes up to here on camera. You're gonna see.
Yeah.
And she's in heels this tall, and on an apple box this tall. So and she still barely comes up to here on him. Yeah. It's just funny. So she can't really dance. She's just kind of swaying.
Right.
She can't get around. But so you get it. That's to me the fun part of being a movie set is just to see how do you make it look like something and what it takes to do that and how unreal it can be. You don't need to if it's off frame, forget about it. It doesn't exist, in this world.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you could, it's only this part, So me, I had to stage my mom gave me a gift and I had my wife's wedding picture there, so I did this intentionally trying to make it look natural, just to shout out to my mom.
Yeah.
And my beautiful wife. I'll get to her in a minute. We're not running out of time, are we?
No, we're good. If you're good on time, I'm good on time.
All right, great. I can do this all day long.
Okay.
So then we're doing the weddings, and we get to one of the Asian weddings.
Yes.
In the montage.
Yep. Yeah.
And so they have all these red lanterns around, the ball lanterns. They hung them up everywhere.
Yep.
And we're doing our thing. I don't know what's going on, and I hear someone say, "Hey, go get a karaoke machine." And they're like, "Okay." So the sound guy's like, "Yeah, I got a karaoke machine." I'm like, "Okay, go get it." So they go and get it. Turns out Vince Vaughn and Owen sitting there chatting, like, do you have 99 red balloons on karaoke? We could play that, just because they saw the red lanterns laying.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that they made the film where they brought in the karaoke machine and they sing in 99 red balloons.
Yeah, that's a deleted scene.
Oh, okay.
Maybe in the director's cut that's actually in there, because I saw that in the deleted scenes, but it wasn't in the cut I saw. But
Yeah,
that's so
there's
funny that
a
that's how that all got started.
yeah that was just Vince Vaughn. So I got another Vince Vaughn story too. You'll like it later.
Oh, I'm sure.
But it's well, maybe you won't like it. I liked it
No,
anyway.
no,
So
I'm all for the Vince Vaughn stories. No, he's my favorite. I'm sure I'll love it.
I don't know. I'll tell you the stories, but I don't know that I would like to direct him.
Okay.
But like most comedic actors, it's like working with Robin Williams.
Mm-hmm.
You can't control him. You know, Robin Williams is a great comedic actor, but he doesn't follow a script.
Uh-huh.
Vince Vaughn's pretty good about following a script, but I'll explain why he's difficult. So 99 Red Balloons. I didn't get to see any of the throwing the naked women on the bed scenes. I didn't.
Yeah,
See
I
any
mean,
of
I'm sure that was a
but,
close set. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
great
maybe.
scene, great montage. We love it, but yeah, I'm sure it was a close
Yeah.
set.
So then we move away from the montages. We didn't. I wasn't there for all of them. Just
Huh.
the Greek wedding and the Asian, a few others, but
Yeah.
they're all pretty much shot in the same location.
Mhm.
They just dress them different, try different
Yeah,
angles
that
and
makes
stuff.
sense.
You will see, some of the fronts of the churches, they do the entrances different, but once they get into the places, they're a lot of the same places. Anyway, so then I think most of these stories from now on are as on background. So
Mhm.
I love filmmaking. So we get in the church. We're going to do all the church scenes. So there's two or three weddings in the same church,
Mhm.
and it's all people. The main cast is getting married, and whoever's getting married,
Right.
it's not just the end wedding, but they're all the same church.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
makes sense.
they got 300 of us extras sitting in these pews at the church. So because I love film, I positioned myself in one of the front pews near the video village.
Mhm.
So video village, for those of you who don't know, is where the directors sit and they watch what's going on through all the cameras.
Mhm.
So I'm sitting looking over David Dobkins, I think that's
Yep, David Dobkin. Yeah.
his full name, looking over his shoulder at what he's seeing
Mhm.
on the screen. So I'm in my tuxedo, sitting in the pews, just trying to learn as much as possible.
Yeah.
And so that's where I kind of just there. A big part of being a background actor is that you want to get into SAG. SAG-AFTRA, what's SAG-AFTRA now, was SAG, is
Right.
the union that everyone wants to get into. So as a background actor, if you're non-union, you get minimum wage.
Mhm.
You get guaranteed 8 hours a day, which is nice. So even if you go there and you work for 3 hours, you get paid for 8 hours.
Right. Yep.
So it's kind of nice. But usually you're there for 10, 12 hours, which, can be torture sometimes. But as a SAG actor, you get 3 times that much.
Mhm.
You get paid a lot of money. Well, probably twice. I don't know. It's been years since I've done it. But anyway,
Yeah.
so
It's probably it's about 3-4 times, and then you get the health and pension benefits as well.
I'm sorry. If you make enough in a year, you can do the health. And if you do background full time, I knew a few people who did it as their living.
Hmm.
It's not easy to do. You pretty much have to be living with very low standards.
Yeah.
You have to have you'd be very frugal to live as a background actor. But I've known people who did it.
Hmm.
I was getting paid by my partner's investments into my failing web company, so I had that. So you want to become SAG. There's
Hmm.
a couple ways to become SAG. One way is as a background actor. I won't get too much into the nuances, but each day they have to give out X amount of SAG payments.
Hmm.
So to be a SAG production, they're like, well, if you're going to have extras, the first 20 have to be SAG. After that,
Hmm.
you can hire as many non-union as you want.
Hmm.
So if there's less than 20 SAG actors there, they have to pay a non-union actor that SAG wage,
Hmm.
if that makes sense.
Yes.
So if you get 3 of these, magically, you then can join the union.
Hmm.
So this was the route that I attempted to get my union vouchers. So the first one I got, that was a PA, Pete Dowd. He's the second that was on on Wedding Crashers with me and Day After Tomorrow.
Okay.
He knew I wanted to be an actor, and he knew I wanted to be SAG. So on the last day of my PA work, he paid me in a SAG voucher. Now, I'm probably going to void my membership if the SAG ever finds out how this works. But anyway, instead of paying me as a PA, he paid me as a SAG voucher, which I don't remember if the pay was more or less, but it didn't matter. I wanted the voucher.
Yeah.
Because that was my first voucher towards my 3 to join the union. So, woohoo, excited. So that was kind of cool. But anyway, so I'm sitting behind, I don't know why I deviated into that story, but I'm sitting behind the director watching them film. And somebody who you would not think was a terribly funny person is a very funny person, and that is Christopher Walken.
Oh, no, I get the vibe that he's really funny.
He's just I guess because great. You don't expect it. And you know, anything, when he does say something funny, it's just extra funny. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So, I don't know why the camera was rolling. I don't know if they always kept it rolling. But they were doing a setup. And they had Christopher Walken and Jane Seymour.
That's his wife.
Standing next. Yeah, that's his wife. They're next to each other in a pew. They're just standing there as camera sets up and lighting sets up. And I'm watching them on the Video Village. And Mr. Walken, please excuse my bad impression of you. I don't remember. I didn't hear the whole conversation. Yeah. But this part, he breaks into a William Hung impression. William Hung, at the time, is from the first American Idol. William Hung was an engineer, a young Asian engineer who came and tried to sing. So Christopher Walken did his impression of William Hung singing "She Bangs," and he was like, "She bangs, she bangs," and they got that on film.
Yeah,
and I say film; it was digital, but yeah, they got it there. So I'm watching it. They would keep bringing new people in. Come look at this. You know, we got Christopher Walken doing a William Hung impression, and it was hilarious. And I remember somebody was standing next to David, and they're like, "Oh, well, there's your promo right there. You know, just throw that in the promo. You're guaranteed the movie's a success." Because it was hilarious watching Christopher Walken do that, but never to be seen again. I have yet to see that bit of footage exist anywhere. So you're just gonna have to take my word for it.
No, I'm sure it exists somewhere, but yeah. That's
so
funny.
Yeah, in that time, if you know who, like I said, American Idol, and I believe it was William Hung was his name. It was hilarious at the time, and he did a great job impersonating him. So that story I enjoyed. So yeah, got to watch them shoot. So we're going on. You know, long days sitting in these pews. You know, we get breaks and whatever, and it's 2 hours of setup for 5 minutes of shooting, and then more 2 hours.
Right? Yeah, that's how it goes.
So hurry up and wait, as they say.
Yeah.
So we're there. Vince Vaughn starts smoking in the church, full of 300 extras, and it's just indicative of his personality. Like, I don't care. I'm just going to smoke. It was very dangerous, probably. I mean, not very dangerous, but, a little dangerous, a little inconsiderate,
Yeah.
It's just, and just rude, just whatever. So, but that was Vince Vaughn. And then that's, he's a free spirit. He's going to do what he wants. And that was, something that I remember him doing that just kind of, shocked me a bit that he would do that. And that was, that's his celebrity. I mean, I pulled out a cigarette and started smoking. Now I would have been escorted out so quick and never to be seen again. But that's fine. So not to say he doesn't have his genius moments, because the next story is good and bad, and I appreciate what had happened in it. So we're at the end seeing his wedding. He's up there at the front. Yeah. Everybody's coming. All the bridesmaids are coming up the aisle. And Jane Seymour and her son, the bride's brother, the little sensitive artist guy.
Yes.
Right? Who later plays the Penguin, I believe, in Gotham. I think that's the
Oh,
same
does
actor.
he? Okay, I didn't know that. That's funny though.
Um, so he's Weasley. He's a little Weasley. He's not that way in real life, but he plays kind of a Weasley character.
Yeah.
And he's coming up the aisle, and Vince is like, wait, stop. Shouldn't he be my best man? And David's like, yeah, we really just, let's just get the shoot going. I just think it's a really good idea that he's my best man. And David Dobkin just let Vince do whatever he wanted. He just rolled over the director whenever he wanted. And Vince is like, well, wardrobe, what would that take? And wardrobe's like, we got to change him into a different tuxedo to match, because he was in kind of an old-fashioned one with a striped, not a tie, but anyway. And the ones up front were all matching, and they were different. And they said, well, it's going to take about 45 minutes. And Vince is like, yeah, we can do that. I mean, 300 extras sitting in this, we're getting paid by the hour, just an exorbitant amount of money.
Yeah.
Time is money. And he's like, yeah, we could do that. So everything goes on hold. They bring the guy in. But in his defense, I think it was, from a storytelling point of view, it was a good idea.
I hope everyone is enjoying this podcast. I just wanted to jump in real quick and say, if you love comedy movies and miss the R-rated comedy movies of the 2000s, I currently have a comedy movie in post-production that I wrote, directed, and produced titled Hometown Summer. The movie is very much in vein of the 2000s-style R-rated comedies and follows the story of three childhood best friends whose plan to attend the same college is thrown for a whirl in a summer filled with drugs, sex, and bad business decisions. The movie is set for release in 2025, and you can follow the movie's progress on Instagram by following @Wolverines Productions, by signing up for our email list at hometownsummer.com, or by subscribing to this YouTube channel. All of these relevant links will be posted in the description along with the pinned comment. I hope you enjoy the rest of this podcast episode.
Yeah. To make him the best man.
That's so funny. That's
it wasn't scripted.
That would be really annoying. I feel like that's something that it's kind of like that double standard that if I was directing, I would be pissed if like virtually anyone else did it, but it's Vince, and it's like, I don't know. I feel like the affection I have towards him, like I would yeah.
You don't watch Wedding Crashers because you want to watch a David Dobkin movie. You watch it because you want to watch a Vince Vaughn movie. So,
yeah.
They get a little, I believe, it's, and fairly so, they get a little leeway to make it Vince Vaughn-y, because that's what it's being sold as.
No, that's so funny, and that's so cool to hear that from you, because I remember talking to my cousin about this at dinner a few months ago, because I read the Wedding Crashers script, and I was saying, like, Owen's dialogue pretty much is word for word the same, like in the screenplay and in the movie. Like there are some changes here and there, but I was like, Vince's dialogue is like nothing. Like I don't know if I saw one line of dialogue that was the same on script that was actually the same in the movie. It's like he had to have been improvising every single scene. So it's funny to hear that from you.
Yeah, and I was not there for the motorboating scene, but I get the impression that whole motorboating thing was made up on the spot too.
No, there was nothing like even close to that in the script.
Right. So something I've noticed about actors, and there's only one actor that I've been around that has not been true of, but of professional actors, you hear stories of, getting into character, and there's the people that you always hear. They're those guys. Daniel Day-Lewis, the Batman guy. Anyway, they're they live the character. They are the character, right? But every other actor, you would be so surprised. They're just goofing off, talking, and action, and they're the new guy. And Vince and Owen were like that. Now, granted, their characters are very much just their real personalities.
I kind of got that impression. Yeah.
They didn't, there wasn't a big leap, to become these characters. So they didn't have to do, but just a shout out to Jennifer Aniston. She was the one exception. Now,
Okay.
granted, it was a crying scene that she had to do. It was on the the Graduate's sequel to The Graduate, which is as good as it gets. Not as good as it gets. No, it was anyway. Had Kevin Costner, Jane Seymour again, and Jennifer Aniston, and she's in this wedding scene where she has to come up the aisle and she's not happy about it or something. But so she's crying. So she's trying to get in tears, and they're, yeah, maybe we need to move this light. And she's like, come on, I'm in this
Yeah.
in the zone. So they go and she's crying, and she did a great job. So shout out to her. But just a small note on that film, I don't know how many days I worked, maybe a couple days, maybe only one. But first of all, Jennifer Aniston, tiny person. You would have no idea how small she
Okay.
really is in real life, but beautiful.
Yeah, she
On
is.
team Jennifer, and so we shot. Just the millions of dollars shoot. Again, it was a wedding scene. I was in a tuxedo,
Mhm.
and so they shot a bunch of stuff, and then the director did something bad or whatever. They fired him, scrapped all that footage, restarted the whole movie. I mean, just so much money gone. Of course, now my time with Jennifer Aniston on screen is now, deleted somewhere. So no proof there either. A lot of my stories, you have to take my word for it. Anyway, so back to Wedding Crashers. So that's just basically the crux of the movie. I don't think I have any other stories that are too exciting to share.
These stories are great.
Yeah,
I'm really loving
it's
though. These are so cool. I mean, that's my favorite movie, and just hearing all this behind the scenes action, it's special.
yeah, they had a good time on set for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
seems like it.
they don't, they because they have so much money, they don't. It's I'm sure you've directed stuff,
Yeah.
and like you said, in 10 days, you're like, go go go, no time
Yes.
to goof off. Let's do it. We're losing light. Do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, they mess up. They're like, we'll fix it in post. We'll shoot it tomorrow. Whatever. I'm sure
Yeah.
there's a group of people that are going crazy, but the main people are, no skin off my back. I can goof off a little, and they do. They take their time. Yeah, it takes a long time to shoot a Hollywood film, for
Oh
sure.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure that one was probably close to 100 days or something.
I wish I knew. I probably have my call sheet. So the call sheets, if you're not from Hollywood, are your proof of existence on a film.
Hmm.
If you can get your name on a call sheet, you have proof that you were part of this film. And that so you people collect the call sheets of productions they've been on, and there are some unions that actually use those as proof of work to
Yeah.
where you
Okay.
can join the unions and stuff like that. So yeah, I think my mom's garage somewhere I have maybe a Wedding Crashers call sheet. I'll have to go look for that.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
So that's all I have for that. And let's see other shows. So Spanglish again. Pete Dowd
Yeah.
called me. So lesson learned here: networking is really important in Hollywood.
Yeah. No, it sounds like you got onto some really cool sets.
So some things about Hollywood that are great is that the jobs and it's Hollywood is slow to change, and you sit there and you wonder why, and I think I figured it out because when I got there, black and white photos were still a thing.
Hmm.
We had the ability to print color photos in printers in 2004,
Hmm.
yet black and white photos were still a thing in casting because Hollywood is slow to change,
Hmm.
and the reason for that is you don't hire a crew and say, okay, crew, for the next 3 months, you're mine, and we're going to build this film. No.
Hmm.
She's like, well, I'm sorry, I got another job in 2 weeks. And like, oh, my mom's going to die. I have to go, whatever. So you don't have the same crew. Then you got to hire a new crew. And you don't have time to train somebody. So everybody has to have the same skill set. If you have a job, I am a second AC, you know exactly what those job steps and capabilities are. You know
Hmm.
what you're expected to do, and that's one
Yeah.
beautiful thing about it's just a plug and play. If you're a sound guy, you're expected to know XYZ,
Hmm.
and nobody's gonna stop and question you or try to train you or anything. You just show up on set, you do the job, and
Mm-hmm.
and for someone who's new, that's why production system is a great way to start, because then you just do what you're told and you get to watch what everybody else does.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't really have a job other than, well, there are some things like counting people as they eat lunch. You have to, because the caterer has to get paid per dish. Plus, they
Yeah.
need to make sure everybody eats because of the union. You have to eat. So if I'm like, oh, 6 people didn't eat, now they got to find out who didn't eat for the
Yeah.
union rules, and so things like that. The PAs do on a regular that you
Mm-hmm.
kind of have to learn. Like, hey, you're going to stand here and count everybody. Don't it's not a slack job; it's a real job.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff like that. So one thing I did, I just remember an old story. Day after tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
I'm on set, end of a day, 6 cameras did the shoot of the big river crossing. They're like, shoot, we got to get this film from here to the production office. Not far, but
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to carry it. They can't. I mean, I don't know if it was walking. They're like, I got a car. I was a local guy. I had a car. They're like, oh, sweet. Here's all the film. Take it to the production office.
Yeah.
Not until years later, and I get in Hollywood, do I realize, wait a minute, I had all that film in my car with no supervision, no anything, and they just gave it to me and told me to drive it over there. It was just,
Yeah.
later I'm like, wow, I could have really ruined a whole lot of that film.
Yeah. That
Had I
story would
wanted
probably
to.
give someone a heart attack.
Yeah, so, and it was filmed back then. I mean,
Right,
and
yeah.
what I
Well,
can't,
that movie,
I
that
remember
one
the
wasn't
dates.
that long before Wedding Crashers, was it?
It wasn't, no, because, yeah, it had to
It
be
was in the
after
2000s,
2000, I
right?
believe. Yeah. Yeah, it was, yeah, my other than the Ohio story was years before,
Mm-hmm.
but the rest kind of just took off in sequence. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
once you get on a movie set and it's something you love, you get the bug, and
Oh, yeah.
you know, independent film is it's come a long way around the world as equipment becomes more available, but especially back then, before the Red One came out, I have a story for that too. Before that came out, Hollywood is where you had to go, and the reason is that's where all the gear is. So
Mm-hmm.
when you want to make a film and you want to rent, I need to rent a 1,000 watt HMI light or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Where do you do that? I'm El Paso, Texas doesn't have any. So
Right.
that's why you make your films there. And then of course that was the big era of tax credits. Everybody started then. So everybody moved away from Hollywood and they were in Canada. So
Mm-hmm.
everybody that right when I was getting there, so much was being shot in Canada, away from LA, because
Mm-hmm.
they had invested in resources up there. So now people are like, oh, I can go rent a studio up there with the
Yeah.
lights and the camera. So a lot of stuff moved up there. So they were desperately trying to get people back to LA. I'm sure they still struggle with that. But one of the things that other cities started saying, we'll give you a tax credit if you come shoot here.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Georgia is one of the big success stories of that. Is every
Yeah. I was
TV
just about to
show you
mention that.
see
Yeah.
has a Georgia Peach logo on the end, because
Yeah.
they did. They invested in the studios. They invested in, and they give you, like anything you buy, don't pay tax for it. So you're like, well, shoot, that's a 10% savings.
Yeah.
Just on my whole film. And so that was a big deal then, and I had a reason for that story. But anyway, independent filmmakers. So now you can and I think Pennsylvania has a big studio. My brother was telling me he lived up in that way. They invested in these huge studios and nobody's using them, from what I understand, but,
Ohio's starting to get a little bigger.
right. But with Black Magic, I love those cameras.
Yeah, we shot my most
you
recent feature on one of those.
Yeah. I'm not big. I love equipment in
Yeah.
the sense that it's just so fun and whatever, but I don't believe that your film has to be shot on X, Y, Z.
Oh, no.
Story first, obviously.
Yes.
And then, you can make stuff look good. Sure, it's easier with nicer equipment. Don't get me wrong, but you
Yeah.
can still make stuff look good otherwise. We had a saying in our circle
Mhm.
of community that people would come to us and say, well, how much could you make this film for? They give us a script, and we'd say,
Mhm.
we could make any film for any amount of money.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just how good do you want it to be?
Yeah.
The more money you spend, the better it'll be. And then the same with time. How fast can you do it? Well, again, faster you get it, either the more it's going to cost or the less quality you're going to get out of it. So
Right.
that was the big triangle:
Cheap,
time,
fast,
quality,
good.
cost.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that believe that's totally true in filmmaking, and I love the idea of being efficient in filmmaking. So I like having multi-purpose tools for traveling, set up places and stuff.
Mhm.
I love that kind of thing about gear. So one of the opportunities we had in my casting studio, in my group, we leveraged Dan Velez, my casting director's mother, gave us a loan for too much money, 60,000. We bought a
Okay.
Red One. You
Uh-huh.
familiar with Red One?
Yeah.
First, like 4K camera. We're like, 4K? That is ridiculous, or whatever it was at the time. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was, and it's like Oakley made this. It was very confusing time for us. Some sunglass manufacturers made this camera that's supposedly as good as film, but it's digital, and
Hmm.
we were totally confused. But we bought it. The camera itself is not that much, but then you got to get the lenses and the tripod and
Yeah.
heavy
Oh
duty.
God. Yeah.
So the whole goal of that was to rent it out, find
Hmm.
productions that wouldn't rent it, and we unfortunately did not have the lens set that people wanted
Mm.
to rent
Mm.
out. So it was very hard to rent out. We did a little bit. The only job that I did that was cool was Rat music video. Rat was a group that I grew up with in the 80s,
Okay.
hair band, and they came back to do like a reunion video or something, and
Uh.
they rented our camera. I don't know how they found out about us, but rented our camera, and I went with it to be its caretaker.
Yeah.
And uh, I was no camera expert, so anyway, I got to watch this rap music video shot on my camera, which
Hmm.
was awesome. But
Yeah.
the camera operator messed up the back focus on the camera. I don't even know anything about. There's a behind the lens. There's a mechanism. If you turn it, you can change the focus range of the camera or whatever. So it wouldn't focus anymore. And he's like,
Oh no.
your camera, you fix it. I didn't know what to do. So I'm like, I mean, I'd heard stories. You put a dollar bill in there and you turn it to where it butts up. I don't know. I was panicking, and I figured it out. Not too long. I mean, I did hold up production a little bit. Luckily, I mean, anyway, we made zero money on that camera. We ended up selling it for a loss. I still feel bad for the mother who invested in us, but she believed in us, and unfortunately, it was dismal failure. Yeah, there's a lot of Hollywood failure stories, and that's why I
Oh
kind of
yeah.
got out of the business. Well, let me get. You want to hear more about the stories of the films I was on? Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Yeah. I actually just rewatched that last night.
So, unfortunately, this is one of the ones I only worked on one night. So
Okay.
I don't have. I mean, I have some fun stories, but
Yeah.
that's the nature of the how. I'm saying I worked on Mr. and Mrs. Smith because I did, but unfortunately, the impression is I worked the whole movie. I did not. I worked one night. They needed extra people. They were doing an outdoor scene with helicopters flying over in downtown LA,
Okay.
and they need people to lock down the streets. So I
Uh huh.
stand in the corner and tell people, do not pass. That was my job. I was 35 years old then, I think. I kind of had a late start. As a PA, I was older, but I think that's why I was successful. I was successful as a PA because I kept getting work.
Yeah.
Because I was older, a little more mature, and I wasn't there for the advancement and the money. I was just there for the experience.
Right.
So I think that's why I did well. Anyway, so this job I got because one of the PAs I worked with on Spanglish and Day After Tomorrow, one of the
Hmm.
same that Pete Dowd would call,
Yeah.
he was the head PA for Mr. and Mrs. Smith. So he, like I said, he needed people. I was on a call sheet before he calls me up.
Hmm.
I go. So Mr. and Mrs. Smith. So there's this part. Oh, by the way, for Wedding Crashers, they Vince Vaughn's like, hey, put this guy as the best man, and we'll wait. The heartbreaking part of that, for me at the time, I mean, I still don't like it. There was a guy who they had picked in background who was sitting up there as the best man. Never seen him in a movie or anything. And they're like, okay, you're out. And he didn't get to be the best man in Wedding Crashers
Well, I wish I didn't
because
hear that is
I know.
extremely.
It is hard, could you imagine be like, oh, wow, I get to be the best man. I'm going to be on camera. I'm going to be right there next to him the whole time. I'm going to be, and then, no, you're out. And that happens so much in Hollywood. Like you said, the 99 Red Balloons, you've seen it somewhere,
Yeah.
but didn't make the cut. There's so many things that, you shoot and just don't make the cut, unfortunately. And,
Right. Yeah. I've heard a lot of actors like talk about their experiences, and they're like, "Yeah, we shot this scene, and it was 5 pages, and then when the actual movie came out, I was in the movie for about 2 seconds."
yeah. Yeah, and background's even worse because most of the time you're out of focus. And it's like, well, that's me. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't tell, but it's me. Excuse me. Um, I do have one more disappointing story before I get to Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I was working on 24 as background. I
The
had
TV
worked
show.
as yes
Yeah.
with Kiefer Sutherland. So I was just doing background, whatever,
Yeah.
chatting with the second AD, and they said, "Oh, we've got a Humvee driving scene we've got to do tomorrow."
Mhm.
I was like, "Oh, I had a license for an Humvee." So part of my computer tech job, I had worked for the military, U.S. military,
Mhm.
as a contractor doing code in El Paso.
Mhm.
And one of the things we did is set up a radio tower in the desert using we drive a Humvee, so they had to train us in Humvee. So I just made a message, "Oh yeah, I had a license once." He's like, "Good, you're my guy. You're my driver." So I get to drive the Humvee, and they have me. It's Van Nuys Airport. It's less populated part of the LA area, but still very populated. And they have me driving this Humvee down this road along this fence line, and they have a camera setting up at an intersection. I'm supposed to whiz past the camera. Well, what they don't show you is that the camera is right on the intersection to the main road. So if I pass the camera, I'm literally, cars could hit me if I'm, driving out. So I'm not going as fast as they want because they want me to kind of whiz by.
Mhm.
I finally, and then I had to back up, and you can't see behind yourself in a Humvee, and I almost hit the fence. It was not good. Anyway, I finally got the shot they wanted.
It sounds
And
terrifying.
it was, and it's hard because everyone's looking at you. Oh, and then I did get to do another scene. This one gets me too. There's two parts of 24 that get me. So one, I get in the Humvee. They're like, "Oh, you're a main Humvee guy. You're in this." There's a part where the SUV pulls up. It's night, and all these Humvees converge around it. Like, we've got you. I'm the front one. So we're going. We get out and we get your rifle, and you get to come out. So that was fun.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Can you come faster and skid to a stop?" Excuse me. I was like, "I could try." So it goes, not so bad. We did it. Get the shot. Later, I have a lot of stuntman friends.
Mhm.
My casting director's cousin was a pretty popular stunt person.
Okay.
She got an award for Fast and Furious, and her husband was
Nice.
the body double for Silver Surfer
Oh wow. Okay.
for some of the special effects shots. Anyway, I'm just name dropping now. Anyway, so then I tell them about my experience on set, and they're like, "Oh, I was just a background guy at that time." They're like,
Yeah.
"Whoa, as soon as you break traction in your car, you're doing a stunt. You should have been paid as a stunt driver."
Uh-huh.
Not, and that was something I probably could have gone back and argued with, and they probably would have given me, the extra $600 or something like
Yeah.
that, which at the time would have been nice. But there's a lot of rules in filmmaking in Hollywood because of the unions.
Yes,
you can't touch a
absolutely,
light.
yeah.
The union guy has to do it. There's a lot of rules. And so I mean, we were on a TV show called Bones, and
Yep.
we were a bunch of This is where I got my second voucher.
Mhm.
We were a bunch of background. We were prisoners in Folsom Prison. Well, it was a neighboring prison, but I had my hair done up big 60s pompadour. They put a fake naked lady tattoo on my arm, wearing the blue jumpsuit kind of thing and so they were piping in Johnny Cash. He was playing at the Folsom Prison, but they were simulcasting it at different prisons. So we're sitting there enjoying it, and the director liked my look because he kept and he put me in the front of the camera, and I do my thing. So that was good. I had good hair for that scene.
Yeah.
But there was a scene later where one guy is escaping and climbing the wall. We're all kind of looking through the windows, and we're supposed to be like, go, 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 and well, we're background. We don't talk.
Right.
There's, that's, you talk. That's the golden ticket. Now you're an actor, right? So now they got to put your name in the credits. Now they're paying you actor wages.
Right.
So there's a PA spending hours. I'm just background on this one. Spending hours looking through the rule book. Finally, they tell us, if you're chanting something over and over, it does not count as a line. You're background. And the whole thing, the whole time I'm thinking, wow, you could have just asked us. We probably would have just been okay with it,
Yeah.
they spent so much time to find that rule.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want SAG after coming after. SAG is a nightmare to deal with, so.
It is. I am still a member. I've held my membership. So that's my second voucher, because the first, like I said, he liked my look, and that you had a next day shoot, and they were only calling back, 15 people. Well, that was under the SAG limit for the TV show. And they asked me to come back. I said, am I going to get paid SAG? And she said, well, it's under 15, so yeah, you will. So I was like,
hell yeah.
I was trying to strong arm me. I was like, I'm only coming back if I get SAG.
Yeah.
I didn't have to do that. So that was my second SAG voucher. So third SAG voucher, and then I'll get back to Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I haven't forgotten. Was working Malcolm in the Middle as a PA.
Oh, nice. That's a fun show.
It was Cranston. What's the actor's name?
Bryan Cranston.
That's his name. Yeah, the father.
Yeah, Hal.
He was
Bryan Cranston plays Hal. Yeah.
Yeah, he was actually directing the scenes, so that was pretty cool. He did direct some of those, but anyway, so I'm a PA on that one. Again, this one was not Pete, but Pete's first AD.
Okay.
Called me in again.
Yeah.
For a PA, you don't really apply for jobs. They kind of call you and tell you that you're working. We got a job, you want to work it. So, and that's a lot of grips and camera operators and everything. There's not like a website like for actors for this kind of thing. I'm the gaffer. I pick my crew. Like, oh yeah, I got hired as gaffer because I was known by so and so, and then they just kind of let you pick your own guys to come. So you get in a crew. It's it's like when you see a movie and it's Adam Sandler and all his buddies are in every movie, right? Yeah. It's the same thing with crew. They will hire the same crew over and over because they work well together. We like these guys,
Yeah.
So again, get your community, work together, make a team. Well, I mean, even old school Spielberg, Lucas. I mean, they went to school together, right? I mean, they had to help each other. I know we didn't hear a lot of stories of their collab, but there's some that I think they helped each other get work. But anyway, so I'm on the set of Malcolm in the Middle, and just doing my thing. And the stand-in, so stand-ins are generally SAG. A stand-in is someone who looks like an actor.
Yeah. And
they sit them or stand them there, and they set up the lights and cameras so the actor can go get makeup or whatever.
Yeah.
So stand-ins generally are SAG. So the stand-in goes missing. And they're looking for him everywhere. And there's this second AD who's like total nuts, just spaz, kind of panicky guy. And he runs off. They rented a coffee. Sometimes they do these little treats and they give you like coffee carts or ice cream carts or something, just for everybody to do. So they had a coffee cart. He went that way and didn't see him, came back. And so they found the guy, and wish I could remember his name. You would see him in the credits of Wedding Crashers as the second AD. I think is David. He has a name that sounds like a famous TV writer, but it's not. Anyway, so the AD fires him. Just like you can't go running off. You're fired. Go. So I'm in the van. Now, conveniently, I placed myself as a PA near the truck. Well, it was a garbage truck. It's a garbage truck scene where Reed's in there pulling levers or whatever. And they're like, oh, we need to set lighting. And then he looks at me and he goes, you, get in the truck. I was like, yes, it worked perfectly. I get in the truck. And now I'm Reed. I'm pretending to pull the levers. They're setting up the cameras and the lights, whatever. Get done. I go to my assistant director friend, and I say, hey, is there any way I can get paid as a SAG actor instead of, SAG background instead of PA? And they went and asked the question. They said, sure, we'll do it. So that was my third voucher. So two of them I got from being a PA. One of them I got legit. And then I joined the union after that. So I did my time, so it still counts, but it wasn't all legit. Excuse me, the sun has moved. So
yeah, no problem.
Cut. We're gonna need to relight it. So so I got my third voucher. So Mr. and Mrs. Smith, back to that. So I was called because I worked with this PA before, and he needed a lot of extra PAs, and I had no life, so I could go at a moment's notice. So we went. It was a night shoot outside of a hotel room, little sleazy hotel. In the movie, Mr. and Mrs. Smith are inside interrogating somebody, and a whole bunch of troops, special forces troops, come.
Right.
And they're gonna bust in. They go SWAT style and they bust into the place. So it was interesting to sit and listen to the SWAT guys because they were real special forces guys. A lot of times they hire these. There was actually an organization. It was called, I can't remember what it was called. Sorry, but it was a background actors group that was only special forces people or former military. So if you had a production where you needed a military presence, you would go to them and you'd hire their military people because they all knew how to do all the military stuff.
Yeah, actually, just a quick anecdote. In feature that I directed that's currently in post-production, one of the actors in that, when he was in the military, the Transformers production, hired a bunch of people from his base, and he got to be in that movie because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, cool that again, when I was directing the Day After Tomorrow, those soldiers were from Fort Bliss military base in El Paso. They were real soldiers.
Yeah.
And they got to do full soldiery stuff at my direction. Anyway, so Mr. and Mrs. Smith. So I'm there, and we, the special forces guys are standing around talking, and the lead guy, they're all in their tactical gear, and they got the helmets off and everything, so they're just chilling, and everybody starts talking about to this guy. He was the trainer of Brad Pitt for the Achilles role. Was it Achilles? It was the one where Brad Pitt gets all buff.
Sounds like every movie he's been in.
Yeah, it was one where he plays like an ancient Roman guy or something. And anyway, it was just fun to hear his stories about training Brad, and he was like nonchalant about it. Yeah, he was motivated. He did the work and whatever. Yeah. So that was cool. So then I'm this is before I get shipped off to stand on a corner and say, "Oh, don't pass." So, and it was nighttime. Nobody was walking in the streets anyway. But so I'm standing there, and it's this tall, beautiful woman, just young woman, excuse me, just happy to be there. And another guy, a good-looking guy next to her, they're just chilling, and I'm there. And so they're the body doubles for Brad and Angelina.
Makes sense.
So we're with them, and then I overhear Angelina's on set walking around naked. I'm like, why am I out here? So yeah, she's walking around naked on set, and I'm stuck out in the cold out in the nighttime with the very attractive body double. So
I think I would rather be on set than
right. I mean, it's warm.
Right.
So So the scene they have to shoot, there's several scenes, but one of the scenes they shoot is Brad and Angelina's characters run to a big air vent kind of thing. They kick it in the vents and they crawl inside of it.
Yeah.
And so the stuntman's kind of directing the background guy, the body doubles. Okay, you guys are gonna run here. You're gonna kick, and he's like, "That's a pretty big kick. You know what? I'm gonna do it." So bye, Brad Pitt body double. You're no longer in the movie. Stuntman now steps in as Brad. It's all silhouette. If you see it, it's all like helicopter lights. That kind of blue light circle around, and they're all in silhouette when they run. So you have no idea who they are. They're in the same wardrobe, right? Mm-hmm. So the body double gets to do it. The stuntman gets to do it. as Brad Pitt, but at least the attractive young lady got to do it as well as Angelina, so she still got to do the role. So that was my limited experience on
Oh, that's
Mr.
cool.
and
No,
Mrs.
that's
Smith.
definitely yeah. No, that's
No comedy, just it was just outdoors and yeah, and then you get to watch the SWAT team people do their drills, going into
oh
the
yeah. No, I'm
building.
sure that was a really fun dance.
Yeah, and yeah, helicopters flying. Anytime you got helicopters flying over, that's a good time.
Yeah.
So that was fun. So Spanglish again, Pete Dowd. If you go and look, you're going to see David and Pete are the common thread through my blockbuster films.
Mm-hmm.
Called me for Spanglish again. He was doing second unit stuff. Basically, we were like third unit. We were
Okay.
doing plate shots for the special effects. So we'd mount these cameras, and we had this really cool. It was before gimbals came out. This guy
Okay.
had created a rig on a boat. It was called Perfect Horizons, I think is what it was called. So when the boat tips and raw, it just it's same as what gimbals do now. It was
Mm-hmm.
a predecessor to that, and it would just stay level, keep the horizon on the level. Same
Yeah.
concept, but it was big and terribly expensive and whatever. So we put that on the back of a car, and we would drive it up and down these roads, so that in the movie, when they're driving up and down the roads, outside their windows is our footage that we shot. It's just the blank plates they put on the
Yeah.
special, and the green screen, so that because it had to be really level, really smooth and level, so that it's not jumping and the car's not, and it just so that was the goal there. So we did a lot of that. That's what we were doing in Beverly Hills, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the time, if I'm not mistaken, Ronald Reagan had died because there was a big
That sounds
hubbub
right. Yeah, he died around that. Yeah.
not too far away. Helicopters, the news helicopters like to hover around these scenes and stuff. That I remember that happening. We were really close to the Playboy Mansion. I think it was part of it.
Okay.
So just fun stuff. So we're driving, doing all these shots and whatever. But I did get part of some of the reshoots.
Mm-hmm.
So we are near the beach where this house. So the scene is Adam Sandler pulls up in his car, gets out, and walks into the house.
Mm-hmm.
That's the scene. It's amazing how much effort they put in for these 4-second shots
Yeah.
in the film, right?
Yeah.
So so we're setting up. It's daytime, and some passerby drives by and honks his horn, and my David yells out, "MOS, you asshole!" Excuse my language. That's a
Oh,
direct quote.
you can say whatever you want on here. No worries.
Yeah, this is the internet. Anyway, MOS is, they used to joke, it's a German term, but they say it's without sound. It means without sound, but I don't remember the exact word what it means, but nobody kind of knew what it meant. I think some people knew, but so we would shoot MOS just with no sound, and so we were shooting with no sound, so it didn't matter. But people in LA will do that. They hate productions because they divert traffic and they just they make it hard to get around, so they honk their horns and all that stuff to kind of ruin your shots.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. That sound can be a real bitch.
Awful. But anyway, so
yeah. I mean, obviously this isn't intentional, but all the airplanes and everything, those are a pain in the ass.
Right, yeah, exactly. So the sound guy is always like, hold for sound,
Yeah.
We're like, why? I don't hear anything. But, he's got a microphone. He can hear the dog barking. Oh, it was the same thing in Malcolm in the Middle. They have this house. So they shoot most things on the set, which was cool because I think it was the first or second season of Big Brother. That house was there, and it was just kind of this dark, lockdown corner of the studio nobody went to because it was all internal. Anyway, they're not allowed in and out. It was fun. But on the set, we do a lot of all the fake. The backyard and inside the house is all on set. But if they ever show the front of the house, it's a real house. And they rent it from the owners. And they hire one of the owners to be the caretaker of the space. So basically it's just a way to give them lots of money because they just sit around and like, oh, can you open this door? Oh, sure. They unlock a door.
Yeah.
So there's this one particular house, and they go in, they trash the yard, they put fake, because if you know Malcolm in the Middle, it's all dilapidated and everything. So it's a nicer house, but they go and they ruin it for the shots.
Mm-hmm.
In this particular one, there was the trash scene. So they put a big pile of trash on the front lawn where, it's Dewey, the little one, is treating it like snow. Anyway, so the people down the street, as soon as they see the production come in and they know they're going to be shooting out in the front, they decide this would be a good day to start our landscaping. So they bring out the lawnmowers, and there's a site manager, location manager, handful of cash, and his job is just go to the people with the lawnmower and like, here's $200, stop mowing the
Yeah.
lawn, and and people know this is what happens, so they make noise. Oh, really? I'm sorry. You need me
Yeah.
to stop? Give me some money. So yeah, that's it's people. I don't hold it against them. They're just taking advantage of a situation, but
Yeah.
it does make filmmaking harder. Which in El Paso, when you shoot independent films, you get to a location, you're like, hey, coffee shop, can we shoot here? They're like, sure, but you don't own the space, right? You're in the back corner, and they're still brewing coffee, and customers are coming in, and you have no control over it, which
Yeah.
is hard,
Yeah,
especially
no,
with
I know.
sound.
I mean, Michigan too. I mean, a lot of places, not everywhere. We ran into some issues. That's another story for another day. But people are generally very excited about movies
Yeah,
being made, and they'll accommodate. And yeah, people are just like they want to be a part of it. They want to help out in any way. I've heard. I don't have any experience in LA, but I've heard it's literally polar opposite in LA.
it is. It is. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It is. So since I've left Hollywood, I came to Korea,
Mhm.
and I've since met my Filipino wife. She's in the Philippines,
Okay.
and so for the last 10 years, I've been going to the Philippines, and I lived there for 2 years, and I started working in the Filipino uh, entertainment industry
Hmm.
as an actor mostly, and I'm the foreigner. Anytime they need a foreigner,
Yeah.
I can go in there. So I've done in the two years I lived there, I did four of their biggest films. I
Oh
was a
shit.
small
Okay.
actor in
Yeah.
four of their, and not background. I mean, like I did usually one scene, one or two scenes,
Yeah.
with them. But legit 4-page scenes, with
Right. Right on.
lines
Yeah.
and so it's a whole other animal there. It's a very indie world.
Hmm.
Same kind of feel that you might have shooting in Michigan
Hmm.
or Texas. It kind of feels like that there. But they have the real equipment.
Hmm.
They have, I mean, there's some horror stories I have with safety. They have a terrible idea of what safety is compared to LA. LA,
Right. Yeah.
with the unions and, just America in general, safety is key. There, not so much. They're using masking tape to put all the plugs together for Video Village, and it's
Yeah.
dangling there. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
I have photos. I take pictures of everything that I find different than LA. But they shoot fast as well. They'll
Yeah.
they'll do features in 10 days, and
Okay. Yeah.
and they're not terrible. I did this one scene, and the sound guy is like sitting over there, boom's like 12 feet away. I'm like, there is no way this sound is going to be good at all.
Hmm.
And watch the film. It's like, oh, it's not so bad. Maybe they do a lot of post production, and we did do. To be fair, and one of the films I did, we ADR'd like the whole film
Oh, okay.
afterwards.
That from an independent film producer perspective, that is sounds like a nightmare. I've never
Yeah,
done ADR like on set sound from an equipment crew perspective. That's my number one priority is making sure we get good sound on set.
yeah.
Don't want to do
It's
ADR.
You don't, yeah, and so we did the whole film ADR, and yeah, it was crazy, which was good because my character spoke Spanish, and that's another thing. They're like, okay, yeah, we're gonna hire you. You're gonna play a Jesuit priest. Great. So I get on set. I hadn't seen the script yet.
Yeah.
Get the script. I'm like, this is all Spanish. They're like, yeah, just do that. So I lived on the border of Mexico, so I know what Spanish sounds like, but I
Right.
never spoke Spanish.
Yeah.
So I'm stressing. I was there for a week on this little beautiful island, shooting as a priest in this big, 1950s Jesuit priest outfit.
Yeah.
It was really cool to walk around in. Anyway, yeah, but I'm like I'm stressing over memorizing these stupid Spanish lines. That Spanish is not stupid. I just don't understand it.
Yeah.
So
No, we won't cancel you.
I having a hard time, but I futz through it. They don't have a problem with it. okay. But then we get to do ADR. I'm like, oh, good. Because then, now I'm reading it. So now I can
Yeah,
say it
right.
exactly right. So, so it's much better there. And then, like, I did another one where I'm on set for 24 hours. No lie. I mean,
Oh God.
I am there 20 hours without even getting onto set, And there was an earthquake. It was the whole thing. But anyway, it was I'm there 24 hours. So I have not talked to the director. I've talked to the coach a little bit. There's an acting coach that they kind of give to everybody. And so I'm playing this Georgian, the country, not the state.
Yeah.
And it's kind of this Russian accent, Russian/Jewish is how I would describe it.
Yeah.
And I've been listening to the tapes. I've been trying real hard to do it, and I'm delivering the lines, and the director's like, "No, you need to do it different. What do you want?" I could not get an understanding of what she wanted on this particular line, and we're 24 hours into it. Everybody's tired because they've been shooting for 24 hours. I've just been sitting in the back trying to memorize lines for 24 hours, and so she's getting so frustrated. I'm like, she goes, so deliver it this way. I was like, okay. With the accent, it's an added layer of difficulty for me as an actor.
Right.
I said, you want it with or without the accent? She's like, without the accent, I don't care. She was pretty upset by that point. I delivered it the best I could, whatever. It made the film. Whatever. I don't know if I communicated what they wanted me to. But in the Philippines, they don't perceive the accents and the authenticity of anything that's foreign. They don't care about it as much.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I could have done a straight up German accent. They probably wouldn't. Well, because even in Coolyon, which is it's about leprosy. It's a real interesting idea of a story. I think the script was a little weak, but we had I was American. I am American, and I was playing the Spanish Jesuit priest, and we had this tall French guy playing this American.
Yeah.
And he had the thickest French accent that you would expect. And he's like quizzing me and another American for, how do I say this? Don't understand what I'm going to say. And we're like, wow. And he, of course, butchered it. It sounds terrible to an American. Filipinos, yeah, they bought it. He's American, but it could have switched us. Anyway, so I'm in the Philippines now, shooting. That's my goal. I'm trying to retire from here. I'm like I said, project manager, and I've always been trying to develop software for project management for film industry. I've got one. I've started. It's called Nth AD. So if you know anything about math, 1 to N. N is always your last thing. So because you have first ADs and second ADs and third AD, this software is the Nth AD, your last assistant director. That's why it's called Nth AD.
Okay, clever.
I know it's clever, but you got to explain it. But anyway, it'll catch on. And it's basically a whole production management app. So it lets you communicate and send pictures and all this stuff to help you organize a shoot. It's only half done, so you're not going to see it anytime soon. But I'm hoping I can utilize that in the Philippines and make some productions. I had about 10 grand worth of gear that I started accumulating in Korea, and I moved it over there. Yeah. And it's been sitting there since COVID, so 5 years now. COVID is why I came back to work, because I was like, I can't do anything. I might as well go work, make some money. And so I've been working ever since, but then I got married, and then I got to worry about the retirement plan. But the plan is still to go make some films in the Philippines. Yeah. So I had 10 grand worth of gear, like I was saying, and it's been at least 5 years, probably longer, and it's all obsolete now. I mean, the lights still work, but I had a Canon 6D camera. It wasn't even a 5D, but it was, it's a good camera. I got lenses that probably full of molds now. They're just some cheap lenses. So I'm probably have to start over. But like I said, I love gear. I love to have it. But that's of course a trap of an indie filmmaker. You spend all your time in gear. Rent the gear. That's
yeah. I mean, what I do is I just the crew I hire, they already have their gear, and that's how we do it.
That's a good way to do it. I mean, depending on your budgets, of course. And then, of course, there's just fun and then practice shoots and fun. You need equipment for that, but you don't need great equipment. I mean, cell phones
No.
these days are so good.
Yeah.
So, find something with some different lenses you could put on. You could shoot anything. Get some practice
Yeah.
and going.
The one piece of gear that I did buy was a mic because I do YouTube videos too. So, I mean, audio is everything. You don't really know how much you appreciate audio until you hear bad audio. And so I did buy a Sennheiser mic that we use on the film sets, and I use for my YouTube videos as well. That was the one piece of gear that I am guilty of buying.
Yeah, I have shotgun mics. I bought an extra boom pole. It's in my closet here. I've never even taken it over there. But yeah, I mean, it's just so fun to buy gear and play with it. But you really should avoid that trap, because that's all I ended up doing is just playing with my gear. And I don't, instead of shooting, you should just shoot.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's about my career and my experiences. Then I want to do more. I plan to do more. Might be more social media stuff. We were in LA. We were in the era of the web series. That was a thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then it went away. I miss it. I want to kind of bring it back. I want to do some web series, and we got streaming services now, and if you actually make anything that's worth it, that's a great story and it's shot not too bad, it's gonna make it on a streaming service.
Mm-hmm.
It's or they're gonna remake it for a streaming service. So just go and shoot the best you can. Like I said, my target's online. I'm in the Philippines is a different animal, so I want to do sponsors and do different things there that you probably couldn't do in the U.S. And that's part of all my theory growing up. Well, in the industry was, in El Paso, my thought was I could become a big fish in a little pond. I could be somebody here in El Paso, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to make some films
Yeah.
and do some festivals and win some contests or whatever. Obviously, I did not, and I thought, well, because if I go to LA, I'm going to be a nobody in a huge pond, a little fish, and and I did, and of course you have aspirations, but really never expected too much. Oh, I did direct some stuff too. I guess I forgot that part. I have
Yeah,
one.
I did see that on IMDb. Yeah.
I directed. I have one thing that would be noteworthy, I guess, and that's a film. A friend, again, Dan Velez, my casting director.
Yeah.
He had a friend who wrote a film. He wanted to star in it, and he wanted to direct it. And my friend, who was going to produce it, said, "You can do one. You can direct it, or you can star it. What do you want to do?" Well, most of us would pick star in it, so he did, and so they asked me to direct it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a mafia film. I don't watch mafia films, but okay, I'll do my best. So we're using our Red One camera. We're shooting this film, guerrilla style in his apartment.
Yeah.
Trying to do but we have crew because we got a little money because the actor has some money he wants to throw at it. So he goes out and he gets, I just forgot his name. An actor in a different mafia film. And then he goes and gets Stallone. So I got to direct Stallone for 2 scenes.
Oh shit! Wow.
Oh yeah, Frank Stallone. I'm sorry, not Sylvester. Frank.
I was
Sylvester.
like, whoa.
No, yeah. So Frank Stallone. I like to tell the story that way. Just built see. Yeah. So Frank Stallone, which is Sylvester Stallone's brother.
Okay. Yeah.
Looks and sounds very similar. He's actually very, very accomplished in music. Back in, I think he had a song in "Staying Alive" or something of that nature. Won Grammys. Anyway, great story on set. He's only there for 2 scenes. Of course, he doesn't know any of his lines. He got paid $5,000, I think, to come and do a couple scenes.
Yeah.
And we're shooting, and he's doing what he wants. Doesn't take direction very well, which is fine, whatever. And he's just kind of riffing with the actor, and of course, the actor's just glad to be there with his, with Stallone, who's anyone Italian. To him, Italian mafia, that's just, anyway, so he's doing his scene with Stallone, having a great time, and I'm, doing my best, keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
And so then Stallone walks away, and where'd he go? We're ready. 15, 20 minutes goes by. Okay, well, somebody go knock on the door. He went upstairs and knocked on the door, PA. Of course, you send a little PA up there to do it. And no answer, no answer. About 20, 25 minutes later, he comes down. All right, let's shoot. And we shoot the rest of the scenes, and then, nobody says a word. We just disappeared for half an hour, and then okay, well, that's celebrity. You can get away with stuff like that. So
Yeah. Do you ever find out what happened?
no, never did. So
Oh, okay.
probably, had to go to the bathroom or took a nap. I don't know. Yeah, who knows?
Who knows?
But he seemed fine. So just shot the rest. So that's as far as directing goes. I spent $5,000. I got a bonus for my computer programming job, which I was kind of doing simultaneously for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, I'm going to spend this money on a film before I just kind of goes into all my expenses or whatever. I just get rid of it and spend some money on a short film. And I wrote this little fantasy short film, and it's got lots of special effects. I always bite off more than I can chew, but back then. So we shot it on. We found a guy who had a camera, pretty decent camera, shot in 1080p.
Mm-hmm.
He was a videographer, or whatever. It's like, no, it's a P camera. Back in the day, a lot of the digital cameras, most of them came interlaced. I don't know if you know anything about broadcast style, but they were 1080i's and 720i's and 480i's. And the I meant interlaced. So they shoot a half a frame and then another half a frame and then a half frame. So if you ever watch an old film on VCR and you pause it and you see these little lines,
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
That's called interlaced. So
Okay.
the video shoots that way. So you can never stop and get a clean picture. You always get this. So doing special effects is a nightmare on that, because you don't have a full picture to draw on, right? It's always this half frame thing, right? So you do this conversion thing where you convert them to whole frame. So P comes along, it stands for progressive, and it's basically just like film, solid photos. So he had I don't know if it was even a 1080. It may have been a 480p camera. Maybe it's a 1080. Anyway, it was what we wanted. We had a lot of special effects. So we hired a different guy who had the same camera. So we have two operators, and we're good. So we're shooting this film. We shoot not too long, 4 days. It's like a 20-minute short. And on the last day, we found this junkyard that let us shoot with all the. I go and we like scouting this junkyard. It's a wonderful junkyard. And I get there, and the neighboring junkyard wanted like thousands of dollars to shoot there. We're like, no thanks, right? This is LA adjacent, so they know they can get some money for this.
Yeah.
So the guy's interviewing. There's this great little stocky little, I don't know, looks like a thug. This is awesome, right? So he's like, so do you got any stunts in this? We're like, oh, no stunts, no danger, nobody. And he's like, oh, it's too bad. I have a bunch of stunts. Yes, we have stunts. We're going to do stunts. So basically, put him and his crew. He got his whole crew to come out and do, falling off of the roof onto pads and putting guy in wire and yanking on them and stuff. It was just awesome. These stunt guys came, and I'd never worked with them before, so not everything I did was great. The proper way to do, like we're doing a countdown because we're supposed to yank the guy and the camera's moving. We want to time it to the camera move. So we yell out, 3, 2, 1, pull, right? That's what you're supposed to do. And I'm like, 3, 2, 1, because I'm waiting for the timing. And the guys are like, well, we don't know when to pull if you're going to do it that way. So just horse, live and learn, right? But anyway,
right.
I'm on the third day. We're at the junkyard. We're doing these gunshots. We're doing it. We're going to do all digital muzzle flasher. This is the era of After Effects, right?
Yes.
So I look over the guy's shoulder, and I'm like, okay, we're going to shoot. And I'm like, look at his camera, and the little light on there says like 720i. I'm like, hold on a second. And then I go look at the other guy's camera, 720i. I'm like, why are you guys both on interlace? Oh, I said, I thought I asked if you wanted, 720 or 480. I said, yeah, 720p is what we wanted. He goes, oh, I thought you wanted. So the whole 3 days, 4 days, they were shooting interlaced.
Mm.
So yeah, I finished the film and we got through it and everything. It was a horror and it was terrible and it was, you see some of them on my IMDb. There's some photos of it, little fairies
Mm.
and stuff. But it was heartbreaking. After that, post production took months because my heart wasn't in it, and I just like
Yeah.
ruined the whole thing. So that was a big waste of money. I mean, it's an experience, of course.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah. No, you live, you learn.
yeah, it
Good
was a lot
stuff.
of money back then. So anyway, you got some questions for me? I think this was supposed to be a question answer thing. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean it's funny because I'm thinking about all the questions I have them in front of me for reference, and like we, through your stories, we really got through like all of them. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you really covered all of these well in detail.
Okay.
Yeah, no, so that was really cool. No, you made my job really easy. I mean, there are the two questions that I ask all my guests at the end of each episode. We didn't get to those yet, but yeah, no, those are some really great stories, and yeah, I mean, really fun to listen to. Really cool to go back in time and hear about some of these movie and television sets. Really cool stuff. I mean, I had no idea that you ever worked on Malcolm in the Middle or 24. That's really cool. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't tell you about Horror Story 24. So after I got the Humvee driving, I was pretty popular. They're like, "Oh yeah, you're a good guy. How tall are you?" I'm like 5'6". I'm a short guy. I don't know if you know, you can't tell on camera, but I'm
I
a
can't
little
tell
bit.
though.
I'm a short
Uh,
5'6". So they're like, "Perfect. You get to be a security guard to walk around with Kiefer Sutherland for 3 days of shooting, like over a couple episodes. Awesome. When you do background, if you can get any kind of regular gig, there's
mhm.
some people who like they just do the whole series. They're just there every day and they're always in the background of some sort of office or whatever. So anyway, I got 3 days to be the security guard to walk me near Keith Sutherland because he's short. And they want someone shorter to be the security guard next to him so he seems taller. So
Mhm.
excellent. So uh, on a side note, before I finish that story, because it'll ruin my story, I did do another part where I played a dead body on 24. So basically, he comes in and to the hangar and he karate chops everybody, and the stuntman takes the hit and he falls.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, they don't want to pay a stuntman to lay there for 8 hours for the rest of the shoot because he's in the
Yeah.
background. So change clothes, put me in the clothes. I'm
Mhm.
laying on the ground. I mean, it's got to be literally 8 hours. I mean, we have breaks and
Yeah.
stuff, but I mean, just cold cement floor, 8 hours, falling asleep, whatever, just laying a dead body. It was awesome, right? So at the end of it, get up a little woozy. All right, shake it off, wake it up. Kiefer, like, comes over to me. He's like, hey, great job. He goes, he shakes my hand, Kiefer Sutherland. I know how hard that can be, do that kind of stuff. Good job. Thanks a lot. So I actually got to shake Kiefer Sutherland's hand on that one.
Yeah,
So
it's awesome. Yeah.
I'm excited. I get to be with Kiefer Sutherland as a security guard for 3 days.
Mhm.
I get a phone, go to bed, get my call time, go to bed, get a call in the morning. Hey, where are you? We're about to start. You're not here. It's like, no, my call time's at 10. It's not 8. And they're like,
Mhm.
no, we need you here now. I say, oh, crap. So I'm hurrying there. So I get there. They replaced me
Mhm.
with somebody else. Well, once he's established, he's got to be with them the whole time because
Mhm.
it's one security guard follows him around all of the HQ. Which, okay, darn it, they're gonna let me. I go sit and talk with Peter, the guy who played RoboCop. We're in a. I'm one of the security guards, moving him around, the main RoboCop actor, and he's a weirdo, but in a genius kind of way. So he was really nice, really smart. He just talking philosophical and all this stuff, which was interesting. But anyway, so we're doing that. I get to meet him and hang out, whatever. And then I'm watching the scene where the security guard and that replaced me and Kiefer Sutherland are walking. And Kiefer Sutherland's going to break away and go attack somebody. So they want him to turn and hit the security guard in the gut and have him fall to the ground.
Mhm.
So they say, well, we don't want to pay you as a stuntman. We're going to give you the line. You say, Mr. Sutherland or whatever his character's name is. I don't know. Jack Bauer, right? Mr. Bauer. He's like, Mr. Bauer, and then he falls, right? So they don't want to pay him as a stuntman. So they give him the line to kind of appease him. and he does it, Miss Sutherland, whatever, and he falls, and I'm like fuming, mad, because like I said in the beginning, when you're doing background, the golden ticket is when you speak.
Yeah.
On camera. So as soon as he speaks, he gets paid as an actor. He gets his name in the credits. He can now put that on IMDb as a, security guard number 4 or whatever, and that's the part that burned me. Like, that should have been me if the stupid AD, I think it was his mistake, not mine, give me the wrong call time, yeah. But I'm going to remember it that way anyway. Yeah, that's my horror story with 24. So
yeah, I was waiting for it to get better, and oh no, that's just such a sad ending.